The Jean Harlow House in Los Angeles definitely has a chilling history that adds to its haunted reputation. The tragic events surrounding Harlow and Paul Bern set a dark tone for the property, and the eerie experiences reported by Sharon Tate during her time there only deepen the mystery. Tate's account of seeing a creepy little man and her subsequent sighting of a shadowy figure suggests a connection to the house's past, leading many to believe it's haunted by the spirits of its former residents. The deaths associated with the property, including the rumors of additional tragedies in the swimming pool, add to the narrative of a place marked by sorrow and loss. For those interested in haunted locations, the Jean Harlow House is certainly one of the more compelling sites in Beverly Hills, blending Hollywood glamour with ghostly tales that resonate through the years. As time went on, the tales surrounding the Jean Harlow House continued to grow, weaving a tapestry of fear and fascination. After Tate moved out, the house changed hands multiple times, but each new resident seemed to encounter strange phenomena. Whispers echoed through the halls at night, and doors would creak open on their own, as if the house itself were alive with the energy of its tragic past. One family reported hearing the sound of a woman's laughter late at night, only to find no one there. They would wake to find their children speaking to an invisible friend, claiming it was a nice lady who liked to play games with them. This unnerved the parents, who couldn't shake the feeling that something from the house's history was still present. Local historians began to dig deeper into the story of the house, uncovering more about Harlow and Bern's tumultuous relationship. They discovered that before his death, Bern had become increasingly paranoid and isolated, leading to speculation about what truly happened that fateful night in 1932. Some even suggested he may have been involved in darker dealings, casting a shadow over the glamour of old Hollywood. Rumors spread that on certain nights, the light in the master bedroom would flicker as if responding to an unseen presence. Those brave enough to stay overnight reported feeling an intense cold, particularly near the mirrors where Bern had taken his last moments. It seemed as if the house itself were a time capsule, trapping the emotions and energies of its former inhabitants. As Halloween approached 1 year, a group of paranormal investigators decided to spend the night at the Harlow House. Armed with cameras, EMF detectors, and their own courage, they were determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. They set up their equipment in the master bedroom, hoping to provoke a response. The night unfolded with strange sounds and sudden temperature drops, but as they delved deeper, they began to hear whispers that seemed to call out to them, echoing from the shadows. It wasn't long before they uncovered a chilling story connected to the house, a tale of love, betrayal, and a lingering spirit seeking closure. Just as they were piecing together the threads of the past, one of the investigators felt a sudden chill and turned to find a figure standing in the corner of the room. The air grew heavy with tension, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for the revelation of its long-buried secrets. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The figure in the corner was indistinct, cloaked in shadows, but there was an unmistakable presence that sent chills down the investigator's spine. Heart racing, he turned to his team, whispering urgently that they needed to stay calm. The others quickly gathered their courage, directing their flashlights toward the shadow, illuminating the space with a stark, white beam. As the light cut through the darkness, the figure seemed to shimmer and shift, momentarily revealing a gaunt, sorrowful face that bore an eerie resemblance to Jean Harlow. Gasps filled the room, and the investigators instinctively backed away, some dropping their equipment in their haste. But one team member, a seasoned medium, stepped forward, sensing an energy that was both mournful and yearning. "I can feel her," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "She wants to tell her story." The air grew thicker, and the temperature plummeted further as the medium reached out, attempting to make contact. "Jean, if you're here, we're listening. What happened to you?" she called into the stillness, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and empathy. The lights flickered again, and a whisper seemed to float through the air, almost like a sigh. The group strained to hear it, and in that moment, the medium closed her eyes, focusing intently. She's trapped between worlds, tormented by the events of her life and the tragedy that followed. There's more to the story, more than we know. As she spoke, a series of images flashed in the investigators' minds, scenes of jealousy, despair, and betrayal from the past. The atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken words, as if the house itself were echoing with the memories of its residents. Suddenly, the EMF detector began to spike wildly, and a cold wind swept through the room, rustling the papers scattered on the table. The team watched in awe as a ghostly image began to coalesce in the corner, becoming more defined with each passing second. "I can see her," the medium gasped, overwhelmed by the connection. "She's showing me the night of Paul's death. It wasn't just an accident. There was a confrontation." As she delved deeper, the investigators felt a palpable tension in the air, as if the house itself was bracing for a revelation. They began to realize that the truth was far darker than they had anticipated, intertwining the fates of Harlow, Bern, and Tate in a web of love and tragedy that spanned decades. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, interrupting their thoughts. They rushed to investigate, hearts pounding, knowing that whatever awaited them could reveal the final piece of the puzzle or plunge them deeper into the house's haunting legacy. As the investigators hurried down the dimly lit hallway, the air crackled with tension. The sound had come from the direction of the old study, a room filled with remnants of the past, faded photographs, vintage furniture, and the lingering scent of old wood. When they reached the doorway, they paused, taking in the sight before them. The study looked as though a gust of wind had swept through, scattering papers and knocking over a lamp. But it was the flickering candle on the desk that drew their attention. It flickered violently, casting elongated shadows that danced across the walls, as if the very essence of the house were trying to communicate. "Did you see that?" one of the team members whispered, pointing to the wall where shadows seemed to form a figure, almost humanoid in shape. They stepped closer, their breaths held tight in their throats, unsure of what they might uncover. "Jean," the medium called out gently, her voice trembling with both fear and determination. "What do you want us to know?" As if in response, the shadow shifted, taking on a more defined outline. The investigators could almost make out features, a pained expression that mirrored the sorrow of her tragic life. The atmosphere grew heavy with emotion, and tears pricked the medium's eyes as she felt the weight of Harlow's grief. Suddenly, the air changed. A wave of warmth washed over them, mingling with the cold as the figure seemed to reach out, an ethereal hand extending toward the medium. "She's trying to tell us something important," the medium said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's about the night Paul died. There was someone else there, someone who shouldn't have been." The team exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the implications. Could it be that the rumors about Bern's death weren't mere speculation? The shadows danced more vigorously, as if urging them to uncover the truth buried within the walls of the house. Just then, the sound of a creaking floorboard behind them caused them to turn. A figure stood in the doorway, shrouded in darkness. It was another member of the investigation team who had ventured off on their own. "You guys, you need to see this," he exclaimed, breathless and wide-eyed. Following him back to the master bedroom, they found a small, dusty trunk that had been hidden beneath the floorboards. The group gathered around as he pried it open, revealing a collection of old letters and photographs, mementos of Harlow's life and her tumultuous relationship with Bern. Among the letters was one that caught the medium's eye, its ink smudged but still legible. "This is it," she said, pulling it out gently. "It's from Jean to someone, a friend, or perhaps an admirer." As they began to read through the contents, it became clear that the letter held secrets about jealousy, betrayal, and a love triangle that had spiraled dangerously out of control. The name of another man was mentioned, someone who had been in Harlow's life during her time with Bern, raising questions that had long been buried. The team felt a chill creep up their spines as they pieced together the implications of what they were reading. If Jean had been involved with someone else, could that have played a part in Bern's tragic end? And how did it all connect to the ghostly figure that had haunted the house ever since? As the pieces fell into place, the investigators sensed they were drawing closer to a truth that had been lost to time. But with each revelation came the fear of what might follow. Would unearthing these secrets unleash something more sinister from the depths of the house? And was Jean's spirit truly seeking closure, or was she trapped in a cycle of pain and revenge? Just then, the lights flickered violently once more, and the temperature dropped sharply, sending a shiver through everyone present. It felt as if the house itself was alive, a sentient witness to the drama that had unfolded within its walls. And as they prepared to confront the final chapters of this tragic tale, they knew they were on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. The investigators huddled closer together, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. The flickering lights seemed to pulse in rhythm with their racing hearts, heightening the tension in the room. The medium held the letter tightly, her eyes scanning the page as if it held the key to unlocking the mysteries that had lingered for decades. "Listen to this," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. She wrote about feeling trapped, suffocated by jealousy. It's clear that something significant happened between her and this other man, but she never names him. It's like she was trying to protect him, or herself. As she read, the atmosphere thickened, and the shadows around them began to swirl, coalescing into shapes that flickered in and out of existence. It was as if the house itself were absorbing their emotions, feeding off the energy of the revelations. "Who was he?" one of the investigators asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "Do you think this could be the person connected to Paul's death?" The medium nodded slowly. "I can feel it. She's trying to tell us that this man had a role in everything. His presence complicated her life and may have triggered Paul's violent reaction. But there's something else, something darker." As she spoke, the lights flickered again, and the air grew heavy with an ominous energy. The investigators exchanged worried glances, feeling the palpable shift in the room. The shadows seemed to darken, almost closing in on them, and a deep chill swept through the space. In the silence, a low whisper emerged from the darkness. It was unintelligible at first, a mix of anguish and despair, but then it became clearer. "Help me, find him," the medium gasped, her face paling as she processed the words. "She wants us to find this man. There's something she needs to confront, something that's holding her back." With renewed determination, the team began to search through the trunk, uncovering more letters and photographs that might lead them to the man's identity. As they worked, the atmosphere in the room shifted again, becoming charged with urgency. The flickering lights synchronized with the racing of their hearts, as if urging them to hurry. Suddenly, one of the photographs caught the medium's eye. "Look at this," she exclaimed, holding it up for everyone to see. It was a candid shot of Harlow with a group of friends, and in the background stood a handsome man with a charming smile. "Who is he?" another investigator asked, leaning closer. The medium's brows furrowed as she scanned the photo, a name surfacing in her mind. "I think this is Robert McGowan. He was a screenwriter and was close to Jean during that time." As the name echoed in the room, a wave of energy rippled through them. They had uncovered a thread connecting Harlow, Bern, and the shadowy figure from the past. But just as excitement bubbled within them, a sudden crash sounded from the hallway, making them all jump. "What was that?" someone whispered, fear creeping into their voice. The medium felt the energy shift, sensing a presence growing more agitated. "We need to be careful. I think Jean is becoming restless." With a shared glance of resolve, they moved cautiously toward the hallway, where the sound had originated. As they stepped into the dim light, they saw that a door at the end of the corridor had swung open, revealing a room they hadn't explored yet, a small, dusty attic. "Let's check it out," the team leader urged, taking the lead. They climbed the creaking stairs, each step amplifying the tension. When they reached the top, they found an array of forgotten items, old furniture, boxes filled with memories, and an eerie stillness that seemed to cloak the space. In the center of the attic, they spotted an ornate mirror, its surface clouded with age. The medium felt drawn to it, sensing a connection. "I think this might be important. Mirrors can hold energy, reflections of the past." As she approached the mirror, she could feel the air thrum with electricity. "I need to see if Jean is here," she murmured, placing her hand on the cold glass. "If there's a way for her to communicate, it might be through this." The others stood back, watching with a mix of awe and trepidation as she closed her eyes and focused. A tense silence filled the attic, broken only by the soft hum of the air. Then, the mirror began to shimmer, images swirling within its depths, glimpses of Harlow, Bern, and fleeting shadows of the past. Suddenly, a sharp gasp escaped the medium's lips as she staggered back, her face drained of color. She's showing me something. It's Robert. He's connected to the house, and there's something he took from her. Something that keeps her trapped. The atmosphere thickened with dread as the investigators exchanged anxious glances. They knew they were standing at the precipice of something profound, a revelation that could either grant Jean the peace she sought or unleash further turmoil within the haunted walls of the Harlow house. The medium steadied herself, her eyes still wide with shock as she processed the vision that had just unfolded. "Jean is trying to tell us what he took," she said, her voice trembling. "It's something significant, something tied to her identity and her spirit." As she spoke, the shadows around the attic deepened, almost swirling in agitation. The atmosphere crackled with energy, and the investigators felt a palpable tension that made the hair on the back of their necks stand up. It was clear that the house was reacting to their findings, responding to the reawakening of long-buried secrets. "We need to find out more about Robert," one of the investigators suggested, pulling out their phone to search for information. What did he have to do with Jean? Was he involved in her life after Paul? As they dug deeper into their phones, the medium focused on the mirror once more, trying to reach out to Jean's spirit. "What did he take from you?" she called softly, hoping to strengthen the connection. "What do you need us to do?" The surface of the mirror shimmered again, and a series of images flashed before her eyes, scenes of laughter and warmth. But then they darkened into moments of betrayal and despair. The medium felt a wave of sorrow wash over her, and she staggered slightly, gripping the edge of the mirror for support. "It's her voice." She's saying that Robert promised her something. The medium breathed, her voice strained. A future, a chance to escape the pain of her past. But then, he disappeared from her life, leaving her to face Paul's wrath alone. The investigators quickly began to piece together the timeline. If Robert was in her life during the turbulent times with Paul, then he might have been more than just a friend. He could have been involved in the dark side of her life, one of them remarked. Maybe he knew about Paul's abusive tendencies, another added, a shiver running down their spine. Did he try to intervene? Could that have led to a confrontation? Just then, a loud thump resonated from below, causing everyone to jump. It felt as if the very foundation of the house was protesting their exploration, as if it were warning them to turn back. The medium's eyes narrowed, her instinct urging caution. "We need to proceed carefully. I sense that something malevolent is stirring." But curiosity pushed them forward, and they decided to explore the attic further. They rummaged through the boxes, uncovering old letters, scripts, and even personal effects that had once belonged to Harlow and Bern. As they sorted through the clutter, one box seemed to draw their attention more than the others. It was small and ornate, with intricate carvings on its surface. "Here, this one looks different," one of the investigators said, pulling it free from the stack. They carefully opened the lid, revealing a collection of trinkets, lockets, a delicate bracelet, and a small diary that appeared to belong to Harlow. The medium leaned in closer, sensing the energy pulsing from the box. "These are remnants of her life, things that held meaning for her. If we can find out what's in the diary, it might give us a clearer picture of her relationship with Robert and what happened to her." With shaky hands, they began to flip through the diary's pages, each one filled with Harlow's elegant handwriting. Entries spoke of dreams and hopes, but gradually turned darker, reflecting her struggles and fears. The last entry, however, caught their attention. "Robert is gone. I feel lost without him. Paul's rage grows every day, and I fear what he might do if he discovers my heart still yearns for another. I need to find a way to escape this torment before it consumes me." A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications of her words sank in. The medium felt the weight of Harlow's pain surround them like a shroud. "This is it," she whispered. She was holding on to hope, but it slipped away. This connection to Robert is what she needs to resolve. Suddenly, the mirror behind them gleamed with a bright light, pulling their attention back. The medium stepped forward, sensing that Jean was becoming more active, her spirit stirring with renewed urgency. "She's showing me a confrontation," she said, her voice rising in intensity. "With Paul. It happened here. There was a fight and Robert was there." The atmosphere shifted dramatically, the air thickening with tension as if the walls themselves were closing in. The investigators felt the ground beneath them tremble slightly, as if the house was reacting to the resurfacing of its painful history. "Was he there to save her?" one investigator asked, breathless with anticipation. "Or did he come to confront Paul?" The medium closed her eyes again, reaching deeper into the connection. "I can feel the anger, the desperation." Paul was enraged, and Robert tried to intervene, but things spiraled out of control. "There's something that happened that night that Jean wants us to know." Just then, another loud crash echoed through the house, this time shaking the very foundations of the attic. The investigators exchanged frightened looks, the intensity of the moment threatening to overwhelm them. They knew they were on the brink of uncovering something significant, something that could unravel the mysteries of the Harlow house once and for all. But would they be prepared for the truth waiting to be revealed? The room quaked with a sudden intensity as the medium focused deeper, trying to pierce the veil between past and present. "Jean wants us to understand her pain, the choices that led to tragedy," she urged. "We need to find out what happened that night." As they gathered their courage, a vision burst forth in the mirror, a vivid scene of the confrontation. They saw Harlow pleading with Paul, fear etched on her face, while Robert stood protectively nearby. The tension escalated, and in a desperate attempt to defend Jean, Robert confronted Paul. The moment spiraled into chaos, culminating in a tragic turn that left Jean shattered. Suddenly, the vision faded, leaving the group breathless. "She never got closure," the medium whispered, realizing the weight of their discovery. "She needs to forgive Robert and let go of the pain that binds her." In that moment, the shadows around them softened, the atmosphere shifting from oppressive to calm. They gathered around the mirror, and the medium spoke gently, urging Jean to find peace. "You're not alone anymore. Let go of the past and embrace the love that once was." As she spoke, a warm light enveloped the attic, and the oppressive energy lifted. A soft whisper filled the air, "Thank you," and then the mirror shimmered one last time before falling still. The investigators felt a profound sense of relief wash over them. They knew they had helped Jean find her way, untangling the threads of her tragic story. As they left the Harlow house, they glanced back one last time, sensing that the spirits within had finally found solace, allowing the house to rest in peace. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.